to all Israel News followers. I'm correspondent Tal Heinrich standing in New York outside the UN headquarters this morning, where representatives from dozens of pro-Israel groups and organizations have gathered to protest and express their outrage over a very controversial report that came out from the Independent Commission of Inquiry of the UN Human Rights Council. And this report was presented today to the UN General Assembly. It accuses Israel of committing war crimes against the Palestinian people. Now, the 28-page report was compiled by this inquiry that was established following IDF Operation Guardians of the Walls in Gaza during May of 2021. The commission was tasked with investigating the events leading up to the escalation and happening during it. Now, just to give you some perspective about the bias of this report's conclusions, it mentions Israel 227 times, whereas it doesn't mention Hamas violence at all. Now, the people that came to protest here are community leaders, religious leaders, not only Jewish, also Christians. In fact, a bishop was the one to sing the national anthem during this event at a very, very moving moment. Take a listen. Among the speakers were also Israel's UN ambassador Gilad Erdan and victims of terrorism, including the parents of 5-year-old Ido Avigal, who was killed from a missile hit at his home in Sderot during Operation Guardians of the Walls.
I was in a coma for a few days. During that time, my husband had to tell my daughter that her little brother was murdered. In Gaza, on the other hand, candy was handed out in celebration of the death of my son, celebrating a death of a 5-year-old boy. Candy was also distributed by the same terror organization immediately after the tragic 9/11 terror attacks. I wasn't able to attend my own son's funeral as I was in a coma. To murder a little boy wasn't enough for Hamas. They weren't willing to let us bury him in peace. During the funeral, they deliberately fired rockets at the attendees who had come to pay their last respect to my son, Ido.
The Council is a mockery, just like this pathetic commission is a mockery. Yet merely establishing another UN-sponsored inquisition against Israel wasn't enough. The one and only goal of this commission was to demonize Israel, and how better to demonize Israel than to find commissioners that would ensure exactly that outcome. The members of the COI were not chosen for their investigative skills. They were chosen specifically because of their very public hatred of Israel and their very poisonous anti-Semitism.
We come here today to advocate for the real truth in a real free world, not the false information spoon-fed by international dictators and their welcome committee at the UN. Israel's cause is just, and we owe it to ourselves, to our children and our grandchildren, and the international community to call the UN to accountability. The injustice and anti-Semitism must end, and it must end now.
The Biden administration has opposed this commission of inquiry from its very inception, and that a group of bipartisan senators sent a letter earlier this year to Secretary Blinken urging the administration to bring to an end of this commission of inquiry. This hasn't happened, and unlike the Trump administration that withdrew the United States from the UN Human Rights Council over its bias against Israel, the Biden administration chose to rejoin it. Now, the question remains, what should happen next? What will be the implications of this report? And who will try to take advantage of it?